What's up, landlords? Renee here. I just want to quickly explain the ideal rental checklist before I show you how to use it. Basically, this will help you set your rental property standards. It'll get you in the landlord mindset, thinking of the type of tenants that the property will attract and thinking in terms of, self-management and making it easier on you to actually, perform property management on the property. And it gets you thinking long term of the physical asset itself. When you go into the type, the year and structure, what it's made of and all that stuff, the exterior. um Also, it'll help you get thinking about your must-haves and your deal breakers. And also it makes me think of that saying, like, you make money on the buy. A lot of times people correlate that with numbers strictly, where it's like, hey, you got to get something undervalued, get some kind of like discount on it, or it's not worth it. You also have to think of like the second order consequences of that. It's like, okay, once you get a good deal, like how do you maintain it and keep it, um and manage it and all that stuff. So basically, when you open this up, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to file, and let me see if I can zoom in here. And then you're going to go down to make a copy, and then you'll just save yourself a copy, and you can put it in your drive and name it whatever you want. But this is a template right here, so I'm not going to do that right now. Let me back this up a little bit. um all these are just check marks, so everything that you agree to that's true, you're going to check it off. And I put this to get you thinking in the right frame of mind. Select a landlord friendly state, in parentheses, I put some right there. Select a tax free state, list some right there for you. And also, I know the city I want. I review the county, like the county's cost of living and crime rates. Get you just kind of like, studying some of the stats and looking more into the economics and, the, I guess, the ideal type of living situation for somebody. If you're thinking of yourself in the tenant's shoes, like, what's the atmospheres like around the area. Um, I know the median cost to rent and know how much income is needed to afford rent. When you think of the 30% rule, your debt to income, just like a bank, they don't want any more than 30% of your household income going to like debt service, credit cards, loans, car loans, and all that stuff. So you can actually do the math and work backwards, thinking of, what would the rental rate be once you start pinpointing the specific property, and then what would the average person need to make to be able to afford this within the 30% rule. This is really like high level, intricate type of detailed thinking, but I'm just trying to get you, thought provoking stuff. And what is this? I know CDD fees, property taxes, and how to file homestead, um, tax exemption if applicable. This right here is like if you're going to house hack and maybe say you're going to live in the front of the house and there's like a apartment in the back you're going to rent out. Then in those cases you can file for homestead, and you'll get like a tax deduction. It gets you thinking about homestead if you don't already know what it's about in Florida. I know about it. I looked into it, so I was like, let me put this on here, get them thinking that way. Most people know about property taxes and CDDs. The property taxes are always there, but the CDDs are like something. Let's say there's a big highway going through, or some kind of development of some sort, and it's kind of like a bond, like with the state and the government is involved. They take out this big fund, do all the work, and they force all the residents that live there for the, like, let's say the first 30 years to pay it back. Just understand the CDDs and what it's about whenever you're, you know, buying in areas like, let's say, a newer neighborhood or something where it might be a surprise to you. Um, I know about the potential severe weather and natural disasters in the area, and will prepare accordingly. This is specifically to like how I'm relating to this. I'm there's obviously stuff I don't know, but this is, I'm just trying to put stuff that I'm aware of and trying to help you guys out. Well, we have hurricanes here in Florida, so in my FAQs, I put in all the links and everything they need for disaster preparedness, and texting and updates for the evacuations, the mandatory evacuations and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like setting up the tenant for success. And I would think, like, if you're in like a bad neighborhood, you would want to provide some like community watch, tips or something, and some hotlines to call. And if you see something suspicious, call this number. This just gets you thinking, kind of like, to the tenant, through the deal, through the property and the tenant a little bit. And then obviously geographical, where the weather is and stuff. No matter where you go, there's always going to be some weather risk. It's a matter on what do you want to accept and take on and deal with. I'm familiar with the building codes and regulatory bodies in the area, residential, commercial, mixed use. This makes me think, because I built an auxiliary dwelling unit. It's an apartment, and I understood and learned about the zoning, just because other people are building, these apartments, and you're like, oh, I want to add one to increase the rents and have another unit. You may not be able to do that depending on the zoning. And that's something that you might want to consider, like when you're like, trying to buy a deal, and you're thinking of like improving and forcing appreciation, or improving and like adding value and adding another unit. You would need to know those zoning, stipulations. And I'm just putting this here to kind of get you thinking. Maybe this is like irrelevant to you. You can just skip it. I'm familiar with the community dues, rules, and HOA, like age restricted communities, gated communities. I just added that there because, let's say, for example, you're going to rent out a property. Some condos and communities might be restricted by age, or even like Airbnbs and stuff. There's a certain amount of quantity they allow for rentals, and it's just something to consider, like, before you buy something. Get with HOAs and say, hey, how much is it? When's the last time it raised? When's the last assessment that you guys had, and how much was it? Did they do a payment plan of some sort? And I'm actually a fan of HOAs. I like them because I think they help me manage the tenant, and we could talk about that a whole nother video on like examples of how the HOA helped me keep the tenants in line, and I didn't have to do anything, and the HOA was kind of helping me out, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this. So it's something to think about. Just don't believe everything you say, or other investors say. You actually have to kind of test it out and experiment. It's like, wait a second, why do they not like it? Have I tried it? Like, is it really that bad? A desirability test. This is something I remember reading in a book, and I think it was one of Trump's real estate investing books, and was talking about, the views, and like a building is in an area where it's beautiful, and you see, good views, and like the atmosphere is good. And it's kind of like something you can't really measure unless you're there on the ground. Like, almost imagine you're a tenant. You're there. Where would you go to grocery shop? Have you gone to that grocery shop? What does it feel like? Does it feel safe? Is it nice? Is it pretty? Is it kind of like a positive type of atmosphere? Desirability test. I consider the views, the neighborhood prestige, the growth potential, the convenience factors, parks, schools, hospitals, jobs, shopping, entertainment, restaurants, highways, airports, property management. Like, if you're thinking about doing that, maybe get you thinking of like, who are the other property managers? Talk to them. What's it like? The tenant pool and their experience in that area. Just getting you thinking. The commitment test, because I always like thinking long term. I like to say I'm the forever landlord, and I never sell my rentals and cash flow forever. So it's like, am I willing to live there, raise my family, and invest in this area for like 30 plus years? Do you see the potential? Do you feel like this neighborhood or area that or this property or whatever is, sustaining itself, growing, or on a decline? And a lot of times people say, hey, if something's not growing and improving, it's already dying. So I wouldn't just be so quick to be like, oh yeah, it's a solid neighborhood, it's sustaining itself. But to take it, that's the location section. To take it one step further and really get you to drill into it and think about the property, I did some property specific things to consider. So like a class, B class, C, or D, and I even tried to like define it. Well off, white collar, blue collar, rundown. Don't get too crazy with these definitions and things. It's not that, specific. I know sometimes we'll be like, hey, is the property categorized A through D? And then is the location categorized A through D? I'm trying to separate the property specifically. I don't like weird properties and stuff like that. And like, anyways, so the type of property, you can specifically target certain type, like tiny house, mobile homes, residential home, townhomes, condos, duplex, triplex. I listed a bunch of stuff. The next one, levels. Oh, this is something I like. I prefer one stories to limit the liability. And also in Florida, a lot of the homes are made of block on the first floor, but on the second floor, they do wood. So I just feel like it's a stronger product when it's a one story. It's less liability, and the roof is lower. You can walk around and inspect the roof easier, and the gutters, cleaning gutters if there's trees and stuff around. So it's just it. I feel like there's a lot of other benefits with a one story. So something to consider. The structure, what I put here. Oh yeah, that's like the exterior. Is it brick, block, steel, wood? I like the block structures. I feel like they're stronger, last longer, no termites to deal with. There's obviously wood within the structure, but not the exterior, that structure that's holding the roof. That was the structure one. Livable square footage. Is it below 1K, 1K to 2K, 3, 2 to 3 or above 3? That's what's next? The year. That's another thing we were thinking long term. You can avoid some of the lead-based paint, clauses and other things when it's older homes, and asbestos and things if the home was built after a certain amount. For me, I like homes built after 2000. Obviously it costs more, but for me, I'm not trying to increase my volume or my door count, and I would rather go slow, methodical, and it's less work for me. And when I buy something, I really try to I convince myself I'm going to hold it forever. So I've built a new construction before, and I understand once it's zoned and it's grandfathered in, you literally, if you pay the thing off, which I try to do, you can get a construction loan and rebuild the same thing right back on that same footprint. Or if you do want to extend it, then you're gonna have to get permitting and make sure you can extend it and you're not going beyond like the setbacks for the property line. They make you have a setback of normally like 5 foot on the sides, and like bigger setbacks on the front and back. But anyways, the point is, when you buy a houses, there's plenty of homes that are over 100 years old and stuff like that. It's just me thinking really long term. That's my quirkiness. So I got you thinking that way by putting it on here. The bedrooms, bathrooms, the garage, attached, detached, carport, none. Parking situation, that's something you never want to forget. You always got to consider the parking. And I'm just listing spots like numbers. The yard, what do I got here? Small, medium, large, none. That's something to consider because the tenant is, are you going to provide the lawn maintenance and stuff, or landscaping and all that? Utilities, what did I put here? Shared, separate, mixed. That's for like if you have multiple units. Accessibility, what is this? Oh, the FHA and ADA standards. Like in Florida, there's a lot of older people here. They like to retire. So another benefit of the one-story homes are some of those kind of elderly people aging in place kind of things. And a shower, like a zero entry shower, is good. But if you get into the ADA compliance and stuff, like all the counters have to be lower and everything needs to be wider for wheelchair accessibility. You need to have like extra space in the bathrooms to turn it around. It's just something to consider if you want. Must-haves. I list out some stuff. Okay, these are just checks. So what did I got here? I'll find a hitting opportunity because I can rehab for less than those who avoid inconvenient problems. So this is helping you like kind of make money on the buy side going into a deal. And I'll add extra values, convert a dining into a bedroom, add an auxiliary dwelling unit in the backyard, or subdivide. When you do the converting, like a dining room into a bedroom, the little bit I do understand about that and know is I think it has to have a closet to actually count as a legitimate bedroom. So you just have to consider that. I know some people will just close off an area and call it a bedroom, but I don't know if that's kind of crossing the line with a little bit of false advertisement and stuff like that. So I'd just be careful. Look into that. Um, I'll increase the cash flow by separating utilities between the units. That's something for duplex, triplex, and quadplex. Some of them actually share utilities. I don't like that. I'll find a fixer upper that will be worth more after repairs. That's kind of like adding value. A fixer upper that I can reference later, not sell. That I can refinance later, not sell. Because I'm also my corrigan is, hey, never sell, hold it forever. um, I'll send mailers to find off-market deals. Because the good thing about this, when you set up the ideal rental checklist, man, it really gets you to hone in exactly what you want. So instead of saying, hey, I'm going to send mailers to this whole entire neighborhood, you actually can go through there and you can zoom in on Google Earth. I've done this. And then find all the corner lots if you want corner lots, or find all the ones on cul-de-sacs, or find all the one stories in between houses that have 1 and 2. Now you're like, okay, I only need to mail mailers to these specific houses. And you're committed to doing this forever. So every year you're going to mail them all the time, give them updates, tell them about your family, humanize it whenever you go, really pinpoint laser accuracy like that. It's not some blanket mail or junk mail. So that's some of the things you can do, the benefit of this. I'll make larger down payments that will help me help from my family to get lower monthly mortgage. Oh, I'll get a larger down payment with help from my family to help me get a lower monthly mortgage escrow payment. This is just also thinking, hey, must-haves. You don't want to be underwater or have the rents, exactly at your debt service and everything for the property, because the turnover will be very painful if you have 1 month of vacancy or even just a week. So what you can do with this, I was trying to spark some train of thought. It's like, hey, when you do find a property and you got all this list out, include your family and say, hey, this is what you're doing. I'm part of landlording school. I got this. I detailed out every specific thing. I've wrote mailers, everything, and I finally found a deal. And this is how much I have for down payment. Can I get some help from, friends and family to go in on this? And I'll pay you back. And they can, you can write it up as they actually have some equity in the business. Obviously, you don't want partners if you don't have to, but you can help. You can get their help, recruit their help, going in on the buy, and then kind of pay them off as you stabilize everything and increase rents. If applicable, I'll take over a property sub 2 and pay the sellers lower fixed rate mortgage. Just look up subject to deals and stuff if you're interested in that. I know with inflation and high rates, it's hard. So you might want to get into some of that creative financing. So if that's one of the must-haves, say, hey, I'm not buying anything in market, bam, you just check that. Some deal breakers, some things that I learned. This is from my experience. Like, I wish I would have learned some of this stuff before. Specifically the high voltage power lines going through, the back of one of my properties. What else did I do? I got 2-story houses. I got a townhouse. And I wish I would have stayed in the 1 stories. I mean, this is things that I'm putting on here because I wish I would have known earlier. So to avoid bad, e.g. awful. So I'll avoid bad, awful floor plans, odd shaped lots, unfair terms, flat roofs, utility easements, and high voltage power lines. These are kind of some things that might surprise you. And it also makes it easier to say no to a deal. If somebody's like, hey, I got this great off-market deal and it's really low. It's like, all right, let me look into it. Let me figure out and go through the ideal checklist and see if it meets everything. Or if it has a deal breaker, you can easily be like, nope, not going to deal with it. I'll avoid risky. I'll avoid risks. Sorry. E.g. oceanfront property, sinkhole, hot spots, flood zones, through traffic, sharp corners or intersections, That's something like another thing I could. I'm running out of space, so I can't fit everything. Another thing I was thinking is like highways, the traffic noise or railroad crossings. These notes down here, if you want to read those later, you can just delete that and add more notes in here and modify this to fit your needs and whatever you like. I'm just doing this to try to help everybody out, sharing my experience going through this journey for 10 years and actually, you know, critically thinking and breaking it down into a really concise checklist to help, you know, hand the torch and make everybody else's life a little bit easier. um so I'll avoid pollution, industrial, chemical, power plants, facilities, mills, landfills, ports, radio cell towers, stuff like this. You can look up like the area, like where do they get power from? Is there any like big mills, like paper mills? I remember when I was stationed in Alabama, they stink bad. And you just kind of do a little research, figure out some of this. Also jails. Sometimes people don't want to live next to a jail or a prison and stuff like that. It's just kind of deal breakers. Hey, I'm not going to be anywhere near a prison or any type of paper mill or landfill. I'll avoid noise, highways, railroads. I already said that. Airports, runways, loud outdoor arenas, theaters, stadiums. More food for thought, things to consider. I'll avoid liability. For example, unsafe areas, bad lighting, stairs, steps, pools, decks, big trees, uneven hazards. Like I was trying to get you to think of trip, slip, fall. Depending on your market, this might be something that, you know, just everybody deals with and they all have it, which you can't avoid some of this stuff. But for me, it's like, if you can't avoid it, you know, why not? So the notes right here, you can read this if you want. And I've already been talking long enough, and I'm just gonna kind of end the video here. And let me know if you guys watch this video, you use the ideal rental checklist. If there's anything good or bad about it, let me know. I can make some modifications. And that's it. I appreciate it. See you guys. Bye.